on this computer. Here we go. So, hey, Ken, how are you doing?
Mary Catherine, I'm really honored to be with you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. This is Kenn Moutenot.
Hello.
So, all right, Ken, how have you been navigating pandemic life?
Well, for myself, I have a pretty optimistic view because I came off the road after many years of touring, and it's really nice for me to be home after millions of miles of travel. So in my case, I'm collecting my thoughts and sort of doing some home alone time and family time, and it's a really blessed time. So I feel that it's good to keep things overcompensated with the pandemic and keep everybody home and let everybody understand maybe it's God's big plan to keep everybody home for a while.
Okay.
That's how I sort of believe that, we just have to rise through it. We have to get through it together, and we can basically face anything. But we have to try to do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Okay, Mary Catherine, I think you know that, but we're gonna go through it a little bit.
Yes.
I basically I'm a manager for bands, but the first thing I love doing is performing, playing the drums on stage and singing. And I've been doing that since I'm a little boy. And through my life, I've done over 5,000 concerts worldwide. And I also love managing bands because then you get to serve the artists. And I love serving the artists. And that means from behind the drum chair or cheese dip, whatever it is. It's serving the artist, basically. And I always loved doing that. And I found in the music business, Mary Catherine, it's really interesting that by serving the artist, I feel I sometimes get work because I'm multifaceted where, wow, he can play the drums. Hopefully they want me more for my talents rather than serving dip. But I try to be able to do it all so the artists themselves feel satisfied with me, not only from a musical perspective, but from a personal perspective.
It's a wonderful way to go about it. So could you tell us a little bit about how you got your start and how you kind of moved from one part of the industry to another? Not that you moved away from what you were doing, but
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I'll be back out there doing the carloads of people, before too long. I'm very, very excited to get back out there amongst the fans. But how I started was basically I just came out sort of playing. I was meant to do this. We spoke about this before. We're sort of, everything happens for a reason. And I just followed through on what I believe my gifts were musically. It was a way to get attention. It was a way to have fun. And I found it, to be class clown and play music. You sort of, you want to be a people person. And if you're an entertainer, you got to be a people person. You're, besides serving the artist, you're serving the fans actually first. So I just always was the manager, drummer, singer guy. And it's been a real pleasure to be able to go through sort of original music when I was younger, trying to make it with my own songs. That was the first thing, or really playing cover songs first, obviously. And but then trying to make it with your original songs in New York City, where I basically grew up in New Jersey, but we all went to New York City to try to make it. It was sort of the punk days and stuff like that. So we were like, just trying to get our originals out. And then all of a sudden, I ended up falling into a top 40 band to make money for a living. And it was something unexpected and something that I didn't really expect. But what I found from this was I resented the fact I was going to be a lounge lizard, basically, is what I called myself, or other people called me. But I found that by learning all styles of music, like everything from the oldies and Frank Sinatra and the big bands to Whitney Houston to Beyonce to the newest Lil Pump, whoever you're talking about. It's following the music, giving the people what they want, and I found that was a really also encouraging way that I learned by having audiences every night across the country playing cover music, occasionally throwing some originals in, that you sort of learn your craft. You learn how to speak with the audience. You learn what to say, what not to say. In my case, it's how many people can I make dance? That's the objective for me, is if people are going like this, then I'm doing my job.
Wonderful. And so, you know, so how did you, kind of transfer from there, or not transfer, but how did you kind of get into the whole managing or booking? I know you as a booking agent, and I know that you've
Yeah,
performed great, amazing stadium shows as
yeah,
well. But
I
so
know, I
you're a
know.
very versatile person in the industry. So how did you kind of make that jump to also be doing these things?
Well, it was sort of a progression, a one day at a time. People wait, go, this is going to be the day, and what you find out is every day is the day. It was the day. You don't miss that day. It's like no matter what you're doing, if you're in the basement or you're in a stadium, that's the day, and you gotta take advantage of that day. But the managing thing, Mary Catherine, I've been really, even when I was in the cover bands and in the original bands, I was always the one getting the gigs. I always was like, hey, if I get the gigs, I get to play the drums. It was sort of my mindset, and it worked. It worked from seventh grade till now, basically. So, so to go forward, after the cover bands, I got in with some more famous people that had bigger backgrounds, like Buddy Miles and Diodato, who you met, with orchestral work and sort of funky jazz. And then for 7 years, Rick Derringer and the Rick Derringer Band, as you know, we did a power trio for 7 years, 500 shows around the world. And so I think that my early upbringing of challenged by all kinds of music gave me the opportunity to then, when you got to play with the celebrities, I could sort of be able to do a reggae song or do a rock song or do a jazz song. And that's just from playing every day, from being like an athlete or something. Every day you have to work at it. You have to. It's impossible not to. Whether that means creatively, whether that means behind the mixing board, whether that means just playing. I think that, to utilize your time doing music of all business, writing, performing, understanding, publishing, administration, just suck it all in is really what I've always done. As you can see, I'm very passionate about everything. So that's what it is.
Awesome. It sounds like you found a lot of strength dipping your toes in many waters, and maybe that helped you in current
Yeah,
times. So,
I think so. I do believe that it gave me some different revenue streams. If you can learn the different parts of it, it does give you an advantage. But then again, that's not for everybody either. Everybody doesn't have to do so many things. Some folks are just sort of destined to do one thing really well and stick on that. It could even be a style of music. I was speaking the other day with someone about some groups. They just do the same thing, like Green Day. Like they're Green Day. They don't jump in with a jazz band or an opera or anything. Not usually. So diversity is a great thing, but it's not the only thing. Some people just have their mission, and Bob Dylan is Bob Dylan, or the Red Hot Chili Peppers are the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They don't really go off of that.
yeah.
Or Eddie Van Halen, who we lost yesterday, he did his thing. He was like a one, he just had his thing. So yeah, I think it's really I'm very honored. I don't take anything for granted, Mary Catherine, when it comes, as you know, because we know each other pretty well. And by the way, if I may interject, what a magnificent job you did by being thrown into 60 bands in 1 year and being able to having to multitask like you did. I was like, Mary Catherine, can you please learn this? You did it. everything we asked for, you were on it, and that meant a lot. And I hope that was encouraging and it was helpful,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and you sucked in a lot of information in a short amount of time, because you were, under pressure. You were working under pressure, and how to do it, and you did wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot coming
It
from
was
you,
no, it
Ken.
was magnificent.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Well,
So
don't you think?
okay.
Well, think about what we did. Think about the historic bands, like you and I and the crew and everybody. We did a magnificent thing, and that film is coming out. That stuff is getting ready to explode. We're going into a podcast. We're going into episodes of all that stuff. We're still cutting it up. We've been working on it ever since in COVID. We've been editing, doing podcasts. I'll share a few samples with you later. It's exciting. I think it's we can't get down about this COVID thing. I think that we really just have to maybe do things differently. Obviously wear masks. That's the best thing you can always do if you're going to have to go out. I personally have not really been going to restaurants. I've been ordering out. I mean, in New Jersey here, the restaurants are open with outdoor dining, but I'm not ready for that yet. I feel like, I'm just gonna, but to each his own. Again, I'm going with whatever the law says. That's what I go with, basically.
Absolutely. I'm playing it safe too. And that's kind of where I was leading to. How has the pandemic affected your work, and what are some of the challenges you've faced, and how are you adapting?
Okay, that's great questions. Well, again, in my personal case, I'm taking the time to write songs and do technology and learn about streaming media and learn things on YouTube, and I'm just sucking in stuff. I feel like I'm in school, basically. That's what I'm doing. Is I'm learning right now. I'm relearning, everything from Pro Tools, the new version, to the Adobe Suite, the new version. You're always progressing with that stuff. So I've been doing that, but I will say, Mary Catherine, I do speak with a lot of the celebrities and artists, and a lot of people are panicking in the industry itself. A lot of people they don't know what to do. They don't know, it will come back, of course, but I have friends that are doing the drive-in type things where they'll have a movie and they'll do a concert, and people are coming, but then people get out of the cars sometimes, and it's like everybody's at the hot dog truck, and it's like, you got your relish on a lady, and the next thing there's it's a hot dog carnival, and everybody is getting sick, possibly. So I don't know if that's ready. I mean, I want it to come out, but I believe that the future is that theaters should have streaming media. They should all, just like we did at Saloon Studios. You have the streaming media, you have the cameras, you have the audio, and you have smaller audiences. And your audience is a digital, online, global audience that entails Finland and Belgium and Africa and Asia and Indonesia and Italy and all of Scandinavia. They love American music. So my thing right now, like Jefferson Starship, who right? Jefferson Starship, they just did 2 music videos during their time off. So they're being productive too. They said, hey, we're going to do finish our album, make some nice music videos. Well, I think a lot of people are getting into the podcasting, the music videos, which we always were. We were already doing that. But I believe that is the future, is digital revenue for artists. It gives us a lot more strength and power, and it gives us a lot more of our own ownership of our creations too. So that's, there's a lot of benefits. Obviously, I'm very optimistic, but I do believe that this can be all for a reason, and we can come out better, if you will.
Great. So, yeah, I was going to ask how you envision the future of the industry, and if you think it will be permanently affected by the this pandemic?
Um, I do, Mary Catherine, and I think that I do. I believe that I was sort of going there that the industry, I believe it'll be affected by becoming more digital, less personal, less like you saw our stadium shows, less of that. There's not going to be 106,000 people crowded together at the stadium. That I don't think that'll ever happen again, sadly. Or I don't know if it'll ever happen again. Maybe in 5 years or 3 years. But I just think we have to look at it differently. You know, it's just like making an adjustment. I think that there's good changes coming. I think that there's good things on the horizon for not only America, but the world in general. I think that this is a wake-up call, and we have to adapt. We have to be creative. When there was the pandemic of 1910 or 12, people did something. And, you know, in the Great Depression, people did something. You know, things came out of bad, right? And, you know, good things come out of bad situations. And I think that the industry, though, is still finding itself. I think it's still finding itself, and I don't think there's any, just like there's no way to give everybody an antidote yet, I don't think there's a way to solve the entertainment problem. Because if you think about it, Mary Catherine, is entertainment really what people want now? I mean, they do. They have time to examine it, but is that really what's the most important thing now, or people's health? So even the big movie houses like the new James Bond, they just said, hey, brakes on. We're not putting it out yet. We have to wait until 2022 possibly. We're not going to do it yet because we want to wait until it's the right time. So that's a good barometer to how the big boys play, how Steven Spielberg and them and James Bond is doing it. So I think that also is a trickle down for the new artists or middle level artists or the big artists, you know, the biggest artists, Taylor Swift, and they're all in flux, they call it.
So, if you could have seen this coming, what would
Mm.
you have done differently, or what are you glad that you did in coming to where you are in your career?
Well, again, I like to mention, and I know I've said this to you before, that I live being thankful for all things, right? I always say that. And if you're thankful for all things, then whether it's good or bad, you're going to be thankful and you're going to come out ahead and you're going to go, everything's great. You know, it's not a falsehood. It's like, hey, it's a way of life, is living by being thankful. And I think right now, I didn't predict. And if I would have predicted it, well, I will say that in a lot of scripture, from Buddhism to Christianity to Judaism to Islam, all over, it talks about pestilence and trials and tribulations and wars and rumors of wars, and you know, all the different things in all the man-made religions, or all the gospels, or whatever. And I think that right now I was a little bit prepared, or thought, what if, before it happened. I did read a lot because I'm a little older. I had more time to study religions. As you go around the world, you want to know what other cultures. If you're in Azerbaijan, it's mostly Muslim, so you don't want to, you know, I want to read a Quran. Everybody around me has a Quran. If I'm, you know, if I never went to Israel, but I would be, you know, obviously reading the Torah and the Talmud, and try to adapt and interrelate to whoever the culture is. So I do believe in studying all cultures, and in all cultures, the pestilence, which is the pandemic, or whatever you want to call it, is sort of already written, and it's already happened. So history repeats itself. So did you say where is it going from here? Is that what you asked also?
What was that?
I'm sorry, did you ask where is it going from here? Also, where is the,
Well, what
or
I
did
was,
I answer? I sort of answered that, where the business is going.
yeah, well, what I was going to ask you next is, I was going to say that many people view this pandemic as a blow to the industry, and
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
wondering if you believe anything positive will come out of this, which you kind of have said, and
yeah. I think, yeah, yeah. I do. I do think something will be positive, Mary Catherine, if you make it positive. It's all action, you know. It's all, if you want something to happen in life, and I believe this, you sort of have to brainwash yourself every day. You have to say it over and over to yourself. This is going to happen. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm going to sit out to write a song, or I'm going to go sit out to get a gig. And you have to really, you can't just like think about it and then it floats away. You have to be redundant with these thoughts. And with persistence, those things happen. So I think that the path right now is digital. I think it's people creating their own art and finding a way to put it up and manage themselves more, which bands people are doing. There's not as many big companies anymore. There's a lot of artists you can see. I mentioned Lil Pump. I'm always amazed by these people that get 2, 3, 500 million views, and they have no backing from any big, you know. I don't care whether they got the money from a church or they got it from drug money. Somehow they get this money and they make these videos, and there's 300 million views. Wow. I mean, that is wow. And I love it that whether the music is good or not, it's the way that they put it together that I'm really amazed with how these young artists can get that many views. You know, I really think it's and you, as far as I know, you're an artist, and I heard your songs, and you have your own special voice. And you know, I would encourage you to take advantage of that during the downtime if you have it.
yeah,
If you
oddly
don't,
enough,
you already
I
are.
I haven't had the most inspiration I would expect to,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
my last question for you, Ken, is for myself and my fellow students in this music law class. Would you have any advice as far as copyrights and signing to labels goes?
I would. I would highly recommend. I'm into publishing administration, I mentioned, and copyright. So I got into that when I was a young man, young boy, whatever. I was always into that. Like, how do the guys that really make it, how do they keep their portion of the, and as you know, in the music business, Mary Catherine, very important basic 101. There's 200%. There's 100% of writers' rights, and there's 100% of publishing rights. So there's 200% to work with. You have, okay, if you have a song, for example. And a lot of times record company goes, oh, we'll give you 50% of the writers. Oh, you're going, oh, wow, that's cool. You don't know, they just took 100% of the publishers, and they're taking 50% of the writers too. They're getting 150%. So it's good to know these things. And there's a book I always point people to called This Business of Music by William Kraslovsky. That is a real good blueprint of everything from contracts to it probably is recommended in your school. I know someone like Scott, the amazing Scott that's part of your team. I'm sure he would recommend that too. So, or your professor, pardon me, not the dude. He's the guy, the
Yeah,
professor.
it's a pretty cool guy.
He sure is. No,
Oh,
I wanted to share more time with him while I was there, but we were both so busy, and he was doing festivals. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think that yeah. So
And for
what
this
do you,
class, my professor is Dr. Ira Abrams. But
oh, Dr. Ira. Yeah,
yes, and
Abrams.
so anywho, I thank you
Right.
so much for being here with us today and for sharing your life experience. Um,
Thank you, Mary
I
Catherine.
hope I'm probably going to call you after this just to catch up or sometime soon.
I hope so. No, it was an honor and a pleasure, and
So much.
I hope I had enough coffee.
Oh, absolutely. You did great. Thank you, Ken. I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. I'll speak with you later.
All right. See ya.
Bye bye.